Welcome back to JB Reviews. I get this question the most of any other question, and it's why don't I just go ahead and buy a long bed truck? Like, why do I keep buying short beds when there's so much more flexibility with a long bed? I'm going to go over that question in this video, but I'm also going to tell you why this is really the better option if you plan on towing a fifth wheel, things like that. I won't point out the obvious things, or I will, I should say, but I won't spend too much time on them. But let's go ahead and get into the video.
Special shout out to Jerry Seiner in South Jordan, Utah. They do have a large selection of HD trucks if you are in the market, so be sure to give them a look up and let them know you saw this video.
As most of you know, this is my 2023 GMC Sierra 3500 AT4. It has the 6-foot 10-inch bed or the standard bed, and to the right of it, this is going to be a 2023 GMC Sierra, and this has the 8-foot bed. Now, the reason why I always buy the standard bed is because I have found that I will never use a long bed for my purposes. Like, I don't really have toolboxes. I don't have any trades. I'm like a city boy with a truck, basically. I mean, let's just be honest here. I drive big trucks because I have a fifth wheel, but I don't really use my bed like other people do. Like, some people have big toys. Some people, you know, are carpenters or they're electricians and they work out of their truck. So having this big bed makes so much more sense to them, right? So for me, why would I spend the extra money to have this truck? Because obviously, you know, a long bed's gonna cost more than a standard bed, right? But on top of that, why would I buy this big of a truck if I'm not gonna use it for its main purposes? So a lot of people get on me by saying, you know, why wouldn't you just buy this when you tow a fifth wheel? Because you have more clearance with your fifth wheel, right? That's the biggest reason why people say I should get a long bed. But as I've said in the past, when I have my Ram, the Ram bed is pretty much like, what, 4 inches, 6 inches shorter than this bed is? About 6 inches shorter, basically. And the cab gets really close to my fifth wheel when I'm towing it. But I have never had an issue where my short bed got the best of me. And because I have this new GMC, it's only gotten better for me. Now, the advantage on my short bed or standard bed GMC is GM moved the fifth wheel prep package back. I've mentioned that a ton of times. Now, they did not move it back on the 8-foot bed because there's no need to. But because they moved it back on my standard bed, I have more clearance. I'll show you a video that I did recently. And I do those videos because I want to show people, depending on your setup, you probably do not need a long bed like I don't need one. But there are instances where this pickup truck makes more sense than a standard bed. The biggest thing I've always seen about these trucks is if you do like hot shot and you want to get a large fuel tank in the bed, you'll have just enough clearance behind that fuel tank or toolbox, whatever you use, to put extra stuff. If you were to have a standard bed truck, you pretty much don't have any more space once you hook up a trailer to the bed. And so that's where this comes in, and it's a benefit. But as I mentioned, I don't do that. And if I did, I probably would just get a 50-gallon tank on the bottom of the truck anyways. So having the bigger bed does give you the extra storage that you need if you need to carry extra tools, things like that. Also, having the extra clearance. You can make a 90-degree turn without even looking back. The only thing I would tell you is be careful on the bed cover that you choose, because that could get in the way of your pin box on your fifth wheel. Alrighty, so a quick recap is this. As far as the long bed goes, I don't use it for work or anything like that, so I don't really need the extra space. I also have found that my fifth wheel setup allows me to make 90-degree turns and to get out of sticky situations pretty darn easy. And I'm not afraid to go 6 miles out of my way to turn around either. So there's that too. Now, here's the other issue I have with getting a long bed truck, is parking. Because we've been on the road full time for like the last 3 years, we've only had one car. My wife goes out, she does things like she gets her hair done, things like that. So when she drives my truck, because we don't have 2 cars, having her park something this large is only a recipe for failure. I know that she can park a big truck like this. The problem is, I just know that it's harder to find parking spots for bigger trucks depending on where she's going. So, as I've mentioned earlier, I've always kind of stayed within my fifth wheel range because of that. So I haven't gone to a larger fifth wheel because I don't want to go to a larger truck. So that's why 14.8 is as much as I'd go with a single rear wheel truck, which means this is all the truck I'd ever buy and would ever need. But with that being said, parking a long bed truck is cumbersome. Like, I've had long bed trucks in the past. Like when I worked for car dealerships, I would take these home and it was always a chore. And sometimes they don't even fit in the parking spaces correctly, so you have to take up 2 parking spaces, and then people get mad at you, and then you have that thought in your head that someone might key your truck because you took 2 parking spots, because they don't understand how hard it is to park this truck. So again, I don't need the space for a long bed. So why would I buy one if this suits me just fine? But let's face it, getting a long bed truck makes more sense than you would think. For example, even though most guys don't have trades who have trucks, this truck does have its advantages. Now, I'm going to talk specifically for Ford. Ford does increase the GVWR pretty significantly on their trucks. It goes from like 11.4 to 12.4 if you get a long bed truck. That's a big jump, 1,000 pounds. And that's going to give you more payload capacity. Now, this GMC Sierra long bed only increases the GVWR by 150 pounds. And on my truck, it's going to be 12.1. So even though you have that longer bed is not going to cut into your payload. I will show you guys the payload of this truck and then show you mine. Now, sadly, even though this truck has a little bit higher GVWR, the payload only increases by about 20 pounds. And that's even with it having a little bit less wheel. It has less options, so it doesn't have the power to pull over running boards like mine does. And I think that's about it. But for the most part, essentially, it's only a 20-pound difference in payload. If it had the 20-inch wheels, I think it would probably be about the same or a little bit less. Now, with that being said, Ram is no better. So Ram, if you get a mega cab, they give you a 12,300 pound GVWR, but if you get the long bed, it's basically the same thing. Now, if you get the short bed crew cab Ram, it's going to be 11,800 pounds. So again, Ford is really the only one that gives you the extra capacity. And yeah, it's definitely worth it if you are planning on towing a fifth wheel. Now, here's the other advantage to having a long bed truck. You can probably see it. Like, if you look at this GMC here, and then look at mine, you can see how far the wheels are apart. That's going to be considered the wheelbase, right? So when you consider mine, my truck's going to have a 159-inch wheelbase. So think about that for a second. If you are planning on towing a trailer, stability might be important to you. And that's pretty much where the long bed wins 100%. This is going to have a 172-inch wheelbase. So you get a little bit more stability, which should help the ride too a little bit, but also you get that stability going down the road. It's a heavier truck, so that heavier truck's going to actually give you a little bit more control of your trailer too, compared to the standard bed. But that's pretty much it. I want to do a quick video. I saw this truck here and I figured, let me just do a quick review on this pickup comparing it to my truck, just to show you. GM does have a great looking long bed pickup. I would actually have bought this truck if it was the only one available. So if my truck was black, had a long bed, I probably would have bought it because it doesn't look bad at all. I think that GMC has the best looking single rear wheel long bed. I think Ford has the best dually long bed setup. And I think Ram they lag behind in both categories. Last thing I'll say is this. If I were to get a long bed, it would be a dually. Unless I got a mega cab dually from Ram. But I think that's the only way I would purchase this truck, guys. Like, I think that if I was going to get a 3,500 long bed, I think I would just go ahead and get a dually, because as you're going to see here in a second, this truck doesn't have that much payload capacity. So for me, it just kind of seems like a waste. All right, but let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers, and then that'll effectively end this video. So really quickly, here are the options for this particular truck here. $67,000 is the standard vehicle price too. All right, and here's the payload. It's going to be 3,805 pounds. And as I mentioned, the GVWR is 12,250. And then your conventional trailer is going to be 20,000 pounds max. Gooseneck's 21,1. Now let's take a look at my truck. Alrighty, so 3,782 is the payload, and as I said, same towing capacity numbers. So with Ford, I think they have the best advantage for the long bed. And just do your research, because depending on the tire that you pick, like if you do 18 or 20, you have to do max toe. That's how you can get the higher GWR with Ford typically. So you have to make sure you set your long bed up correctly. But like I said, guys, hope this video was helpful. Hope I answered some of the questions you guys may have had. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure your bell notifications on, and I'll see you guys soon.